the premier sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes for the best show in sports talk radio. This is Tony's Takes, and of course, sitting next to me, as always, is my co-host, Jimmy D. Jim, hello.
Tony, I got to start off by apologizing for last week. I'm sorry. Couldn't make it
Completely
in.
unacceptable.
This is twice in the last month that I'm falling apart here.
Yes, and for those who weren't around, Jim skipped town and decided to, I guess, go to dinner with his girlfriend, the fiance, whose birthday it was. And I mean, she's not more important than me, so I will never forgive nor forget. And speaking of forgetting, we should not forget about St. Joe's basketball. We just recapped in the last episode of Tony's Takes, which was only on the Apple Podcast app, but we're going to talk about St. Joe's today. And St. Joe's loses to UMass. That's worth talking about. But more importantly, the 4-game win streak. St. Joe's beating Dayton, LaSalle twice, and Richmond, something that we have to dive into and is going to be worth noting as fans look forward to next year. In addition, we are joined by a special guest today at 7:15. He'll be calling in. Riley Frayne, who hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is the Hawk newspaper sports editor. And I messaged him and I said, "Hey, would you like to come on, do a recap of the season for St. Joe's basketball?" Fun little fact, and Jim, I don't know if you can attest to this. I don't know if you were around for it. I used to read the Hawk every Wednesday when it would publish. Every Wednesday.
That's a commitment.
It was a commitment. Some would say that I would rip into the newspaper a little bit, which is true, mainly because I never got to write for them, and I wish I could have gotten into writing prior, because I know I would have written some great hard-hitting articles for the Hawk, brought some great opinions, not even opinions, great news to the Hawk newspaper. But that's all in the past, and Riley's going to be joining us at 7:15, and I can't be more excited to have him on the show. So, without further ado, let's get into the St. Joe's basketball, and of course, we're going to be talking about the A-10 basketball tournament. We're going to be talking about Sixers, Phillies. That's all towards the second half of the show, so stick around if that's what you're into. And of course, if you're here on YouTube for the first time, please make sure to subscribe to the show and double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. And of course, if you love the show, listen to it on Apple Podcast for reruns. And if you're there on Apple Podcast, please leave a 5-star review. Every 5-star review with a written review on Apple Podcast gets read on the show. That's a Tony guarantee. And finally, all hot takes to the mailbag, please. tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. We haven't had an email in a couple weeks. We would love to get one from the people. Actually, why even say that, Jim? We've gotten hundreds of emails, and none of them have been good enough to make it on the show, so keep trying, folks.
We have hard criteria here that you have to meet.
Extremely difficult.
The standard's just too high at Tony's Takes.
We're going to have to lower them.
Yeah.
So if you've been tentative, if you've been second-guessing yourself on your takes, please send them in to Tony's Takes, tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. Jim, I actually want to go to you first. I was going to do a big monologue, yada, 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 but I feel like Riley's going to call in, and then I'm going to dominate the conversation as always, and I want to make sure that you get your takes out on St. Joe's basketball. And I follow the team so close. I've been talking about them so much. I know the fans of Tony's Takes want to hear what you think about St. Joe's basketball. So, for you, what was more impactful? The 4-game win streak or a loss to UMass? Go.
The 4-game win streak, definitely, by far, is way more impactful to me. So, Tony, you called this back in October, I believe. I think it was as early as October that you said St. Joe's is going to have a late season surge, and they're going to, you said a 9 or 10 seed. They ended up being a 13, but guess what? You couldn't have predicted that Ryan Daly would have been out with a thumb injury. You couldn't have predicted that, there was all these issues going on really throughout the whole season. COVID, you can't predict that really. That's another issue. I mean, what was it? Twice that we had suspension through games or something like that. It was
Yeah, there was 2 pauses.
2 pauses. Okay, so I think that 4-game win streak was even more impactful because it still happened anyway, and we went through all of those issues that you could not have predicted. That's what really blows my mind. Now going up against UMass, I kind of expected the loss. You know, I feel like we were both texting off air, and it just seemed like, okay, we would love for them to just take down the 5 seed as a 13. But you got to kind of admit to yourself that you didn't really expect a win out of it. And I wanted it. I wanted it as a Hawk fan and just as a member of Tony's Takes. Of course, I'm going to root
as a member of the Tony's Takes community.
Exactly. So, but the expectation really deep down inside was that they were going to lose. So it wasn't as impactful as that 4-game win streak, where before that 4-game win streak, we were really down in the dumps. We were getting really nervous about the end of that season, and we were thinking, wow, they're only going to have 1-2 wins maybe. And then they go and they win a game in the tournament. You know, that in the A10 tournament. So that really changed my thought process on the season. I don't think the loss to UMass really changed anything about how I felt about this team, and I think that's why it's more impactful.
In the win in the Atlantic 10 tournament, that was against the rival. That was against the crosstown Big 5 rival in LaSalle. That means a lot. And we lost to them bad in the first time around this season. And for St. Joe's to come out and beat them once, and then beat them again on a pretty tough draw for the tournament, if you think about, hey, of all the bottom 4 feeder teams in the Atlantic 10, LaSalle was probably the best out of all of the George Washington, Fordham, and St. Joe's. LaSalle was looking the best for the best team from just a talent standpoint. It's the worst team for St. Joe's to draw up against, a team you've seen so many times, a known rival, someone who knows the way you play, someone who over the last 3 years has dominated against you. That's the one thing people forget. LaSalle won both times last year and then won once this year. St. Joe's was struggling to beat them.
So the one thing that I think is really great about this season was you have LaSalle beat us in the first game, but that game for me was a turning point on this team. Up until that point, I was like, oh boy, this is really, really bad. But then we had that late second half surge in that first game against LaSalle, and I thought, wow, maybe this team isn't so bad. They showed a little bit of fight. I don't know if it was because LaSalle didn't show any heart at the end of their, when they had a huge lead against us in the second half. But then they go and they win the second game, and then it's like, okay, well, best 2 out of 3 against our inner city rival. And then they go into the playoffs, and we beat them as an upset, which, by the way, there was only one other upset game through this tournament so far. Okay, so that's a pretty rare thing this year in the A10 tournament, was that we upset a team, especially in the first round. And I thought that this LaSalle trio of games was huge for this team this year, and I thought it was kind of like our championship this year, was to play the best 2 out of 3 against them. That's in my opinion.
Mego Dowd in the chat goes, do you have any takes on Duke? Still in the college basketball realm, she's referencing the fact that Duke had a positive test on campus. I felt bad for the player that Mike Krzyzewski threw under the bus. I don't know if you saw this, Jim. After the thing, he apparently was released saying that a walk-on was the one who contracted COVID-19. It's like, way to throw... Like, what are you proving? Like, oh, my scholarship guys wouldn't do such a thing? Well, if you're on the team, you're on the team. It doesn't matter if you're a walk-on or a scholarship guy, Jim. You can attest to this. We were both college athletes. Once you're on the team, you're on the team. And you're held to the same standards as everyone else. And you can't just think that you're going to differentiate the problem by saying, it was a walk-on who did it. Don't look at me. It's like, Mike, you coach him too. Like, you control him too.
Now, I didn't hear what he said. No.
He didn't say anything. It was released. Now,
okay.
How does that information get released is the question.
Okay, so that's what, that's something that I'm concerned about.
I just want to clarify. Mike Krzyzewski did not say that himself, but that information got out for some reason.
Okay, so I wasn't sure how intentional that released information could have been, because sometimes people just let things slip.
Right.
And that I don't, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt most of the time. But if that is an intentional move, that's irresponsible.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty irresponsible as a coach. I mean, you want to, if you talk about a collective effort, right? As a coach, you want to build a team. That is one way to just put a divide in between players, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't care if it's a walk-on or not. I don't care. And I want to let's bring up this one other thing because we're still talking about college basketball. We'll get back into St. Joe's. Georgetown upsets Villanova. How tasty! How great! Oh, we're Villanova, and we only care about Georgetown. They are a rival. They are of a higher cut. They are of a higher breed than us, for we are Villanova. Well, you lost to them, Jay Wright. You think you're that great? You lost to them. Now you won't feel so bad crawling back to little old St. Joe's next year when you got to play us for an easy win. We'll remember this. Georgetown's not a good team. And I get it. Gillespie was injured. He had an ACL tear. But with the effort Villanova put out, the Colonial Conference champions Drexel Dragons could have beaten them, Jim.
That is true. And I just want to point this out. Patrick Ewing back at MSG. There was no way, even with Gillespie in, there's no way that they were going to touch Georgetown. No way.
No.
And Drexel, by the way, that's awesome. They win their tournament. First time that they've ever won the CAA because they played in a different conference before that.
When was the last time they went to the NCAA tournament?
1997.
Their drought is actually not that long. Duquesne hasn't been there since 1979.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd hate to be Duquesne.
That's bad. And Fordham's is like 91 too.
Well, I think this is Drexel's sixth time ever being in the tournament. So that's pretty cool,
Yeah. Duquesne actually used to be a pretty good program. It's crazy. It's crazy good. No, they will not be accepted into the Big Five.
Nope, they can keep their fake City Six.
They can claim how great they are for winning the Colonial Conference. You're not getting in. You just keep that one to yourself and don't try it. I don't care how many times Evection Knight thinks he's got the one up on me. This St. Joe's team was better all year round. Speaking of that, Jim, do you want to hear Jordan Hall? He was on an interview with some guy. Oh, that's going to kill me that I don't know his name. It's like Shuz or something like that. I don't know what this kid's name is, but he did an interview with Jordan Hall, and I took some clips from it. So
I'd love to hear it.
Can you Google this kid? Can you Google Gordon Hall and Shuz? It's SCHUZ, and report back to me. This is Jordan Hall talking about how St. Joe's, little old St. Joe's, should be a top 5 A10 team. Let's play it.
I think I'm gonna try to play the best I can, get the numbers I can, but for my focus next year is just to get some wins. St. Joe's make us a top 5 program in A10. We should have been this year, but we will be next year.
Should have been this year. We should have been top 5 this year. Talk about a gamer. How many kids say that? Well, probably a lot. But how many kids are willing to say it on the record like that? Probably not that much. For all the people who believe they're top 5, very few will vocalize the fact that they think they are. And Jordan Hall did. It's the sign of a champion. It's a sign of someone who cares. Listen to this clip. This is about him getting recruited, how no big name schools were going after little old Jordan Hall. No one else saw the potential in Jordan Hall, a kid who was 6 foot 1 year and was really learning how to dribble the ball and learning to be a great ball handler. All of a sudden grows to 6'8", and he's carrying, like Anthony Davis, carrying this ability to dribble a basketball with his new found height. Jordan Hall wasn't recruited. No one was talking to him, but St. Joe's was. Here's Jordan Hall talking about how he was recruited at St. Joe's.
I mean, honestly, it wasn't really that tough for him to get me, I would say, humbly. I mean, I liked our relationship with all my coaches, and I was just all for it. I think I feel like good players make teams great, you feel me? So, I feel like I can make this team good, turn this program around, and I want all parts of that.
Good players make teams great. Jim, would you say you agree with that? Would you say 4 out of 5 households believe that good players make teams great?
Yeah, I don't think that great teams consist of just one great player. It's got to be a collective of those good players, and I think Villanova kind of shows that quite often. And I hate to use Villanova as this shining star example, but they don't really have great stars that come out of the Wildcats program. It's typically that they have good players that know how to play together and become a good team. And I think that Jordan Hall could be one of those good players. He doesn't have to be a great player.
He is going to be Atlantic 10 Player of the Year in 2 years. Maybe 1 year. That's how good this kid is. And I fully believe that if he continues to develop like the way he has, and there's another clip we're going to play of Jordan Hall later talking about how he became the point guard. Remember, folks, he wasn't even supposed to be the point guard. He was supposed to be a power forward on the team, and yet he's, thanks to the Ryan Daly injury, if you could call it a thank you, I don't know, he has blossomed into the point guard and into the best player of the league. And luckily, joining with us now is Riley Frayne, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly, of the Hawk newspaper. He's a sports editor, and he's here to talk about Jordan Hall and St. Joe's basketball. Riley, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it is my pleasure. So let's get to the chase. Let's cut right to it. Riley, give me the one word that you would use to describe St. Joe's season for 2020 and 2021.
All right. So I think for me, the word I would probably use is definitely foundational. I think although, obviously we struggled early in the season, I think that 4-game win streak, that we kind of pulled out at the end really showed, how valuable the young core we have is. I know you guys have been talking a lot about Jordan Hall, but guys like Cam Brown, guys like Demir Bishop, hopefully we get Greg Foster Jr. back as well. So I think kind of at the end of the day, at the end of the season here, I think we're going to kind of look back on this year being real foundational for the young core we have at St. Joe's right now.
You bring up a name that intrigues me. Greg Foster Jr., we haven't heard anything about him. He hasn't played at all. You've got guys around the program. The Hawk newspaper has great access to the program. Have you heard anything about Greg Foster Jr.?
So I'm going to be honest, Billy likes to keep it, kind of shut when it comes to injuries. I believe it was when we asked about Ryan Daly, back at the beginning of the season and how long he would be out. Coach Lang's answer on that was, I'll get back to you on that when I can. And then we didn't end up hearing anything on that until Daly came back later in the season. And it's been pretty similar for Greg Foster. Actually, the latest we heard in the last press conference that on Greg Foster was that he wasn't at the team on the moment, but honestly, I don't have any more details than that. And I seriously hope he's a part of the program. I think he's a real talent.
Yeah.
And I hope I hope he hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've heard the same thing. I didn't know if you had known anything different. I'd heard that there was a little bit of a rift going on, which is unfortunate because Greg Foster Jr., he was the one showing a little bit more promise than Demir Bishop as a transfer. He was the one who was gelling a little bit more and actually showing something at those games. And that's why I was kind of questioning, like, why is there this rift? But whatever, we'll have to just wait and see. Maybe they'll keep those comments disabled on the Instagram account, make sure that we can't ask any questions. Let's go into Jordan Hall, though. Let's go into the guy I love the most on this team. I got in an argument with a couple people on Twitter, as is all things in A10 basketball. You go to Twitter to rant. I said against a bunch of George Mason fans, Jordan Hall's a better player than Kolek. He deserves to be Rookie of the Year. I don't care that George Mason won 3 more programs. Did Jordan Hall get snubbed for A10 Rookie of the Year?
So it's such a tough question. I really think there is, such a good debate to be had over, Jordan Hall making A10 Rookie of the Year. But I really think, Kolek, he's quite the deadly shooter. Another name I want to throw out there, specifically, Ace Baldwin at VCU. I think he had another good season as well and definitely had to be in that conversation. But I don't know if I want to say Jordan got snubbed. I think he definitely had to be in the conversation and is probably, one of those top 3 guys. Specifically, you got to mention the triple-double this season when it comes to Jordan as well. So I don't know if I want to say he got snubbed, but I definitely think he needed to be in the conversation. And, I think, he did make the rookie all-conference team. So I think that goes to show he was in the conversation. But I do think it's a little difficult to maybe say he was, the biggest snub.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. He gets his accolades in the not the Rookie of the Year, but in the all-team freshman, and he didn't play as many games, so I get the argument. I mean, I'm not going to change my opinion. Why should I? I don't want to give George Mason fans any inch. They take an inch, they grab a mile. So, Riley, tell me this, and this is the most important question of the night, I think, and it's something me and Jim were talking about prior. What matters more, the UMass blowout or the 4-game win streak? Because when I see this is the 4-game win streak showed us what this team was possible of accomplishing. And then the UMass game comes along and it was kind of like that slap in the face, down to earth. Maybe this team really isn't that good. Maybe we're going to struggle without Ryan Daly next year. What do you think is more impactful for next year, and what fans should take away from St. Joe's? 4-game win streak or UMass blowout?
So I think I want to start by saying something Coach Lang really preached at the end of the year, kind of during the A10 tournament press conferences, was that from the Auburn game on, I believe it was, the whole St. Joe's squad didn't practice together for a single day. So meaning they never had a completely, full or healthy squad, whether it was, guys missing because of a positive COVID test or, guys missing because of injuries, whatever it was. But the point being, they just never had a full, complete squad from that Auburn game, moving forward. And so to answer the question, I think really what's more important, it comes down to, again, how foundational those last 4 games were, because I think, throughout the whole season, we kind of saw a Hawks team that was really depleted and, again, never really had, a full, strength roster. So, finally getting, Daly back from injuries, as well as a couple of the younger guys to come and help out. I think kind of on that 4-game run at the end of the season, we really saw what the Hawks were capable of and what they're looking to build moving forward. And so, I think really those 4 games at the end of the year were definitely a lot more important than kind of what we saw throughout, the early stretch of the season.
With that said, what's the one thing that can go wrong next year? What's the one thing that worries you, keeps you up at night?
Oh my God, we need a big man. We need a big man. Someone who can. I mean, I love Taylor Funk. He's great, but he's a 3-point shooter. We need someone down low who can rebound the ball consistently, who can defend, interior. Who's just a big presence inside. We desperately need it. And Lang is great at recruiting the guards. He's excellent at recruiting, some of these bigger guards like Jordan Hall, like Eric Reynolds that we're getting in next year. But we need to bring in another big man, I think pretty desperately. And I think it could really change, the program next year in terms of, how we're looking to trend upwards and even the style we're looking to play, really.
Yeah, I was talking to the fellows over at A10 Talk, and we were talking about how there's over 300 players in the transfer portal. I think for St. Joe's, the way to get a big man is you find one that's not happy at a bigger program and you get him to transfer, because it is so difficult to recruit centers. They all go to the big programs because being 7 foot is not that common compared to, there's a lot of kids who can play well at the guard position. You don't need to be as tall. It is literally restricted based on your genetics to some degree. But you mentioned recruiting for Coach Lang as being as a good thing. Let's go into him, because I think he's the one who causes the, not controversy, but the most argument around fans of St. Joe's basketball. And as the sports editor, I don't know if this is something you think about, if you want your, the newspaper to go out and write about this as well, is, what's the one plus and the one minus to Coach Lang and how he looks to build this program? So, I mean, if you want to go ahead, start with a plus or a minus.
Yeah, so I'll start with the plus, just kind of, again, touching on my last answer. I really think he's so good at communicating and, communicating, but just he knows how to talk with a lot of these, younger student athletes that they're looking to recruit. And I think that, again, that really just moves over into his recruiting. Everyone, we've kind of talked to some of the younger guys on the team that Coach Lang has brought in, in his short time on Hawk Hill. They all say that, he's the big reason they came here. He's excellent at, just getting to know these guys, getting to know their families. And so I think the big plus for Coach Lang right now is his ability to recruit, maybe more so specifically when it comes to kind of the guard, to the shooting guard, point guard kind of position. But I think that really is the big plus, is he's so good at recruiting and really getting to know some of these guys. And that, helps bring, it helps get some of these guys to come to the university. So I think it's a big deal. But I think the big minus for Coach Lang is, and it's not necessarily his play style. I don't mind that they want to shoot so many threes, especially, if he can bring in guys who can shoot the 3-ball and can get hot. But I think my big issue with the play style is when it's not working, he's a little too stubborn. He doesn't necessarily want to change. And I feel like there's a couple games throughout the year where we weren't shooting the ball so well from behind the arc, and we kind of started to move inside a little, and we were getting in the paint and starting to work, and it was working. We were scoring points, we were playing solid defense, but just couldn't shoot from behind the arc. And yet, in spite of the fact that getting inside was working, I think Coach Lang just didn't really want to change from his 3-point shooting strategy. So I do think that's a bit of a negative, is he's not always super quick to try and make big adjustments like that in the game plan.
Interesting. Riley, I was going to give you a portion to say your final thoughts, but I've decided that I'm going to ask you a final question rather than just leaving it open-ended. Who wins this weekend? VCU or St. Bonaventure? Who do you have?
Oh, it's going to be a good game. I think I'm going to take Bones and VCU. I really think they're going to pull it out over St. Bon. I really think it's going to be a pretty close matchup, though.
I'm so excited, and I am riding the VCU train all the way
Absolutely.
to town. They're so good. Riley, tell the people where we can find you.
So you can find me on Twitter. I'm just at Riley Frain. That's RILEYFRAIN on Twitter. And make sure you check out the Hawk newspaper if you haven't. It's just SJUHawknews.com. So you can go check out all our sports articles there. Lots of recent basketball coverage. Just lots of good articles to go check out if you have some free time. So
Excellent, Riley. Thank you for joining us here on Tony's Takes. We really do appreciate it.
awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. It was a pleasure.
Yep, you know it. Riley Frain from the Hawk newspaper here on Tony's Takes. It was excellent having him on, and I'm so glad that he spent time. You know, he's the sports editor. He has all the ins on the program. He has better access than I. Yeah, Coach Lang holds the cards close to the vest. I get it. But still, he has the ear to the ground. He can still hear the rumblings a little bit better than I can when I'm not on campus, especially in this COVID year. It's crazy. Jim, what were your thoughts? Anything pop out to you?
Well, first off, a big thanks to him for taking some time out of his Thursday night to come on the show. Give him a follow. I thought that was one of the better interviews that we've had in quite a while. I would give him a follow if I still had social media, but, definitely do that. My thoughts, I really would have loved to hear about where he came down. Not whether he's on the Martelli Lang side, but
Jim's bringing it up again.
just how he feels about the feud that still seems to be ongoing. It just never seems to end, and I don't get it.
Never.
But I'd love to hear his opinion on that too. And one of the things that he mentioned was the stubbornness of Coach Lang to get away from the just chucking up threes.
Mm-hmm.
That is just so rooted in the Brett Brown, coaching tree that he comes from, and just it's so strikingly similar. Like Brett Brown couldn't get away from chucking up threes, and he had the best big man in the NBA.
And now look what's happening.
And Coach Lang doesn't have any big man, so there's no way that we're going to go to an inside game. It's just he needs to step away from Brett Brown and go back to Jay Wright.
Well, the thing is, and Jay Wright, he has good centers, but it's not like the whole offense runs through the center. It's just a guy who can box out, block shots, rebound, and maybe score once in a while. He's just an option down below. He's not the option. He's an option.
Sure, and they get beat by teams like Creighton, who have bigger guys than them. But then they also
Outscore teams that are too big.
Outscore them by playing really well as a team, and they can compete against Creighton, and that's why you saw them go back and forth. I think Villanova ended up beating them two out of 3 games or something, but
yeah,
Creighton did beat them by 16 in the second game. So you can tell where Coach Lang really is from his background, right? Like his most recent background is being with the Sixers, and it seems like he's kind of stuck there, in my opinion. And that's kind of where my thoughts were going during that call with Riley.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I understand. I'm not going to play any more of the Jordan Hall clips. I'll save them for another day. It's fine. I don't think it's I was just thinking about it. It's the last quote I have is him talking about becoming a point guard. I'd rather save that for another day just because I'm trying to formulate my thoughts for the team next year. And I'm going to write some preview pieces for A10talk.com. But I need to think on it. I need to think about, why did Jordan Hall become a point guard? How is the team scheming in the future? The recruits that are coming in. There's a lot of question marks that are being left open for St. Joe's basketball, and I'd rather wait before I talk about them here on Tony's Takes, even though Tony's Takes is the place where we flush out all of the great ideas. You hear me on A10 Talk podcast. I write the articles. Well, all the information, it starts right here on Tony's Takes. This is where it comes from. This is where these little kernels pop in my brain. Because I'm a stable genius, and so they come out, and I just think about them, like how George Mason fans make me angry sometimes. Jim, I'm going to ask you this question because I asked this to Riley. A10 basketball tournament, who do you have winning? Because I'm hitching my wagon to the VCU train. I've been saying it all year long. It's one of the great things about Tony's Takes. You always get tomorrow's news today here on the show. I was always right about VCU. They continue to be great. I said it back in January. I continue to say it. So who do you have, Jim?
Tony, I'm going against the grain here. St. Bonnie's all the way. It's a done deal. My reasoning, super simple.
Superstition.
There has been very, very few upsets in this tournament. There's only been 2. I mentioned
Correct.
that earlier. St. Joe's over LaSalle, Duquesne over Richmond. I think this is going to be super vanilla. I think the 1 seed's going to win, and that's going to just be how it is. And I also root against VCU, okay? Because in 2015, VCU comes storming into Hagen Arena, and you know what happens? They have all their fans infiltrating our stands,
VCU fans are notoriously brutal. They are brutal.
yelling stuff at our guys. We get done the concession stand, and we go watch the game like we always do. And you know what? St. Joe's shuts them down. And there was nothing greater than that in that moment when I'm leaving and I'm just laughing at VCU fans and just waving goodbye. It just felt so appropriate. And I can't root for VCU. I can't root for the team that basically has a home court advantage here. I can't root
Well,
for
they're
them.
not playing there anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They're
They're going to be in Dayton for the
Oh,
final
Dayton.
game.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry. But they had a home court advantage pretty much all the way through here, right? I can't root for that. St. Bonnie's, I love it. Their cross-country team's not very good. You know that?
Oh, I know, though. They were the joke of the cross-country meets.
So I think
and track.
I want to root for that school just for that reason. And that's why Bonnie's is going to win.
You couldn't be more wrong. You're going to be embarrassed when VCU wins. Those fans are crazy. I'm going to roll with them because of it. They kind of scare me. That's okay. I could be coerced into rooting for the Rams. Now, I should go for the little Catholic school because why should I let a state school win because they have all that funding? That's always my thing. It's like for those who don't know, especially in the non-revenue generating sports, the state schools dominate the private schools. It is like, well, not in cross country. Because all the Catholic schools do better in cross country.
Not in the A10, yeah. Well, not yeah.
In the A10
yeah.
they would.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like Fordham had good runners, St. Joe's had good distance runners, Dayton had good distance runners, St. Louis had great distance runners. URI, VCU, George
Davidson.
Mason. Well, George Mason was pretty good.
George Mason was good.
They won it that one year.
It was pretty good even mixed in the A10, but not to get too far away from it. But I just think, I don't know, St. Bonnie's seems to get slighted everywhere else, and I want this for them.
Well, the good thing is we know that these two teams will both be making it to March Madness. So, at the minimum, they're both going.
2 bid league.
Yeah. But hey, we had Tyler on from the 3 bid league, and he predicted St. Bonaventure on our show.
Oh, yeah, he
Before
did.
that was a little sneak peek for their prediction.
I wish St. Louis could have snuck in there, too, but...
The St. Louis fans are crazy. They're like trying to manipulate the entire schedule to get in. It's just like,
oh, yeah.
relax.
That was a little much.
We talked about that last week with Higgles. They were like, we gotta say with Richmond fans. They were like, we gotta move this game. We gotta do this and this and this and this, and that way we can get into the game and play in the tournament and we can beat out Xavier. It's like, give a rest. If you're not there, you're not there. I don't want to hear it. Whatever. Jim, the 70s. Wait, before we go to the 76ers, if you're listening to the show for the first time, please, I'm reminding you and I'm pleading, please, rate and review the show and subscribe. Double click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. And if you're listening to us on YouTube live right now, put your takes in the chat. We're about to talk 76ers. We're about to talk Phillies. I will be reading the chat as Jim continues to rant about these teams because it's going to be interesting. Put your takes in the chat. I will read them out loud on the show. Or Jim will read them. It's fine. Either one of us will read them. Okay, Jim. Tobias Harris, is he scoring 50 points tonight? Because our friend from Basketball Insiders, Quinn Davis, quoted him today saying... Oh, where is that? I just had that quote in front of my fat face, and I can't seem to find it. I don't know why that is, and now I'm going to be scrolling. He said, this is Quinn Davis from Basketball Insiders and NBA, whatever the website is. Doc on what he wants to see from Tobias tonight. 50 points would be great. Jim, would 50 points be great?
Oh, it would be excellent. It would be very great, but I don't think that's happening. Okay, I'd love Tobias Harris. Even with our two stars out, I don't see him scoring 50 points pretty much any night. He's not that player.
I just want to put a disclaimer. Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons got a haircut, contact tracing, couldn't play in the All-Star game.
Right.
That's why it's Tobias 50 bomb or nothing.
Yeah, I don't see him scoring 50 points pretty much any night. It's just even with or without them, I don't see it happening. I do see him scoring maybe 37, 40, somewhere in there. 35 to 40, I guess.
I'm feeling a Seth Curry pop-off.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, Seth Curry. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Not Steph Curry.
Yeah, okay. Seth Curry, yeah, that would be very nice. I'd especially get his legs back. They've had a little bit of a break. It would be really, really nice to see him start shooting the way that he was in the beginning of the season.
Mego Dow goes, Joel is now ahead of LeBron for MVP. I was biting my tongue until you said the Sixers, 50 burger or nothing. I think I'd have to agree.
I got news for you, Meg. He's been ahead of LeBron since the beginning of the season.
For weeks.
On Basketball Reference.
Oh,
On Basketball Reference. Our friends over at Basketball Reference.
Dr. Sean Foreman.
Yes, exactly.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. So, I mean, if you don't think Joel Embiid is up there anyway, you haven't been watching.
You better put your glasses on and watch. I mean, the 3-point step back, Jim, we weren't even around for that. We didn't even do a show. For those who didn't watch, he did a 3-point step back against Utah, wasn't it?
Yeah, against Utah. Put it into OT.
Put it into overtime with, I don't think Ben Simmons played that night. Did he play that night?
I don't know. I can't recall.
Look up the box score. Get the intern
Look
on
up the
it.
box score.
But Joel Embiid, 7'3", not a point guard. Well, and Sixers fans, how often are you complaining we don't have a guy who can shoot off the dribble? We don't have a guy who can shoot off the dribble. We don't have the guy who can really score. Yeah, you have Joel Embiid, who's a big man, but big man, it tends to get harder to score at the end of games. It's what I've been talking about with Jim all season long.
Simmons did play. Tobias Harris that night had 22. Guess what? That's where Tobias lives. He lives in that
22.
22s.
He's like Chris Bosh.
Yeah. He's not going to be the 50 guy. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. You're going to hope Danny Green and Seth Curry play better. Or you get Tyrese Maxey back out there again. Because I want to see this kid play.
Bill Simmons on his podcast with Zach Lowe, who I would recommend everyone go listen to it, called Tyrese Maxey Tyrone Maxey, and then never corrected himself.
Oh, no.
That just bothered me.
Blasphemy.
I don't blame him for not knowing. Why would he? There's so many players in the league, and he talks about every player in the NBA. It just bothered me because I know the guy. I was like, it's Tyrese. What are you doing? Not Tyrone.
I mean, he scored 43 the game that we had all the COVID sit-outs. 43 as a rookie. Now that I can get behind him scoring almost 50 tonight. I can.
Is that who are they playing tonight?
They're playing the Bulls.
Oh. How about, okay, so everyone's talking, and you put this in the write-up, trades for the 76ers, right? This is what, we're always talking about trades.
Yeah.
Everyone put it in the chat. Everyone put in a trade that you would like for the 76ers. Tommy Higley says, sup, Meg. Always great when they come, when worlds collide. Lowry Markkanen, apparently people are looking at, or Zach LaVine.
Now, Zach LaVine has been on the radar since the
Forever.
beginning of the season or whenever Morey came over, I would love Zach LaVine. That would be great. Or Lowry
I would love it.
Yeah. But I just, if it doesn't seem like anything has come into fruition with that. And I feel like they keep asking for so much from us. Like, we have so much to give.
We have nothing to give.
Yeah.
We have very little to give. But here's the thing. Daryl Morey, everyone's like, oh, Daryl Morey's been quiet. We haven't heard anything from him. This is the time. Daryl Morey, this is where we hired you. Where you go in the offseason. He wasn't even around for the offseason this year. He came in October. So this is the first time that we really get to see what is Daryl Morey really bringing to this team from the aspect of who can you acquire, right? He's been doing some good jobs managing the team, managing the roster. Who can you hire, though? Who can you bring in now when the team doesn't have many assets and we need just one more player to bring us over the hump? That's what the good GMs do. They are capable of finding those little gems in the dirt, picking them up, and going, this is a great player right here. Now, from Colts Next says Kyle Lowry, who's someone I have been very high on. That, for me, this is the great thing. The Sixers need more guards. There's a ton of them in the league. And quite frankly, I do trust Lowry with the last shot. He's one of those guys I would trust with the last shot, and he's won an NBA title.
He's one of those guys, well, first off, he's from Philly, so it would
Correct.
be awesome to bring him back in. And we talked about this before. And he's one of those guys that has a huge basketball IQ. He's so smart about the game. Kind of reminds me of Marcus Smart.
Of me.
Yeah, and you. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
I love the idea of bringing Lowry back to Philly. It would be really cool, and I think he'd fit this team really, really well. But the thing that I keep hearing about, and I'm sure everybody got it from their Comcast update on their cell phone, was that there's rumors about PJ Tucker, and that league executives find it inevitable that he's going to come to the Sixers, that Morey's
He's
got
just
him
following
locked.
the Morey train around town.
And I don't know what is, what's real or what's fake anymore. You got Levine, you got Lowry, you got PJ Tucker now. Like, it just seems like there's all these rumors out, and you have no clue who this next guy, this one person that we need is going to be. Before it was Buddy Hield back in November.
I need better names than what's being tossed around. I'm going to be quite frank. Those names just don't do it for me.
Lowry does it for me.
He's the only one with pedigree where I would be like, yeah, bringing him in makes us better.
And he's won a championship.
That's the pedigree.
You know, Danny Green. But then you bring Lowry, and then it's just like, okay, well, are we just like the Toronto Raptors from 2019?
Well, one win?
Danny Green and Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, but do you win with that group is the question. I don't care if you're the 2019 Toronto Raptors. Do you win with that group? Sixers fans can't be picky. This is going to be a little bit brutal for some people. You do whatever you can to win one championship. We are not in the business of we gotta manage this asset. We gotta move this around here, and then we gotta do this over here, and then we're gonna win 5 championships. The Warriors were the greatest team ever assembled. They won 3. Greatest team ever assembled. They only won 3. Everyone was saying 6, 7 for them. They won 3. Teams don't just win 6 in a row like the Bulls did. It doesn't happen. What do you have to do? Plan to win 1. 1. Why 1? Because you haven't won one since 1982. 83. You do whatever you take to end a 25-year drought, and that means you bring in whoever you can to help you win. And I don't care if it's a Toronto Raptors, Dallas Mavericks, Miami Heat situation. You only win 1. That's fine. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to re-energize the city, and it will last for many, many years because for some reason, Sixers fans are very patient with this franchise compared to the Eagles.
That's a fair assessment. I don't think that Zach LaVine is the right fit for this team.
Okay, that's fine.
I really do think out of the 3 guys right there, I think it's Kyle Lowry. I think that he's not big enough of a star that we have to worry about him getting the ball enough. And I think that he's a smart enough player that he makes the rest of the team smart. He's won a championship. He fits back at home, and I don't see any issues with him coming here. I think that he's a good locker room guy too. I think he's going to have a positive attitude on this team, and he's good leadership. I don't know. I
worry Masai Ujiri. He never walks away from a deal as the loser. But we have Daryl Morey on our side, so you like to think at least, yeah, these two are good, but at least you'll walk away with at the minimum a fair deal, because they're both good.
You might lose Maxey.
That's fine. That's fine.
You might lose Matisse, who we had higher expectations for at this point. You know,
I don't think he's been bad though. I mean, in crunch time it shows. They throw him in there for defense, and it works.
Sure. I don't know. I guess he's a second-year player, so maybe I should just back off a little bit. But
in a COVID year,
I just thought that he was going to be better at this point.
He's exactly where I thought he would be. He's just a good rotation player, which is all you need. He's a guy that you can throw out there for good defense.
I gotta reach out to these player development coaches at the Sixers.
They're terrible at player development. It's been this way for many, many, many years. Speaking of player development, the Phillies look like they're developing a little bit of a bullpen. Jim, should I be excited for April 1st?
Yeah, sure. Is that the
sure.
Well, is April 1st the Phillies opener? We hadn't settled this early.
I thought it was Easter because it's on ESPN for the Phillies against the Braves in Atlanta. No, in Philadelphia.
So is that April 4th?
That is Easter, yeah, April 4th.
Yes, definitely be excited. But I still
a little ham, a little salvation, a little bit of Phillies.
Yeah, a little bit of ham. Oh, we got April 1st for the Phillies' first game. April 1st against the Braves.
Okay. I love opening up against the Braves because they're my favorite team.
Yeah, they are your secret favorite team. Not so secret favorite team. But I do like Matt Moore and Archie Bradley. They've been looking really good in spring training. Nola had a rough outing today, but it's spring training. It's okay. You're trying new things out. You're trying to get back into the daily grind of being a starting pitcher in the MLB.
Yep.
I'm really worried about this division. I'm worried about how
it's the best division in baseball.
I'm worried about how good the Braves are going to be, how good the Nationals are going to be, how good the Mets are going to be. I never know how to evaluate the Marlins. I can't figure it out. Sixto Sanchez, as Tommy mentioned 2 weeks ago, is a guy that we let up that the Marlins have. That's very, very good. He's going to be one of the best pitchers in the MLB this year. No doubt about it. I still stick with my prediction. 87 wins. It might put us fourth. It might put us third. I don't see us winning the division. We might be able to sneak in if they do the extra team in the playoffs. You know, what they have 7 last year from the AL and the NL, 7 each.
Yeah, they expanded it because of COVID.
So I haven't seen anything about whether they're doing that again or not. But I still think the Phillies, they're going to be a good team. You're going to be very excited to go out and actually go to a ballpark when it's open, when they allow like a lot of fans back, because it's going to be fun to watch them. You're going to see Bryce Harper hitting 36 home runs this year. Hopefully Hoskins
Give
is
me
that
the
type of
40.
guy again.
I want to see 40 home runs from Bryce Harper.
I would love that, but you're going to have to hope that he
That would
hits,
make that would make the signing work.
he's going to hit 275 again instead of hitting 250.
Can my man hit 300?
I don't think you're ever going to see Bryce Harper hit over 300.
Why
again.
not? Is he lazy?
It's just like the baseball way now, where they're just trying to hit home runs.
275 and a bunch of home runs.
Yeah.
Give me 300 and 100 RBI. That's what I want to see.
Regardless, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think fans are going to enjoy being out there, and once coronavirus clears up more and more, it's going to be like this whole, just opening the floodgates, people coming out, and I think the atmosphere is going to be really good. And then if you get
your season tickets,
and my dad is,
you can get them. The capacity's actually not that small.
my dad has like a Sunday special type thing. So I don't know what's going on with this year.
Steve from Summerdale, you want to treat me to a Sunday afternoon out? I am free.
I think they're holding him on to them to the next season, till 2022 for the Sunday special or something. But yeah, it's gonna be a good season. I mean, hopefully the Phillies will ride off that momentum with the fans coming out, and then maybe you'll see them win 92 games. That would be interesting.
I saw a weak article that said that Phillies fans are the third least amount of they spend the third least amount on alcohol at games. How sad and depressing that is. I thought the city was better than that. Third? Worst?
I'd like to see what the prices are
Oh, it's the highest.
across the stadiums. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well the people drink like way more. Well, but the thing is, it's like, it's not even a volume though. It is based on spend.
Okay.
And we're one of the most expensive ones per drink, and yet other cities outspend us.
Oh wow.
So it's like whatever. Milwaukee, it's probably cheap in Milwaukee, or like St.
Sure.
Louis, because it's like that's where the beer is made, and it's like say it's like $3 cheaper a can, but they're still outspending us by like $12.
I can't imagine LA is ahead of us. That would be.
I don't think they were. I don't think LA was one of the cities ahead of us. They're like one of
Okay.
those lame cities.
Yeah. Well, especially everything's super expensive out there too.
Yeah, exactly.
$15.
And you got to drive home, right? If you think about it, if you live in New York City, you don't have to drive home. You can drink as much as you want and then take the train home.
Yeah.
Not as big of a deal.
Yeah,
but if
and-
you're coming from LA, everyone drives everywhere. I mean, for everyone's safety, please don't. Please just continue to drive regularly, please.
And Philadelphia, I mean, we have the Broad Street line, but it's not
Nothing.
It's not. It's
There's
nothing compared to
nothing.
New York.
It's one of the worst things about Philly baseball. Put it in Jersey. Come on. Whatever happened to that rumor? We were going to build the Sixers. Well, they were going to build the Sixers on the river in Philly, which was a terrible idea. But they were going to build the Sixers in Jersey, or the Phillies in Jersey. How great would the Phillies be on the river, right where the Camden River Sharks used to play?
Wouldn't be that great.
It would be great.
It would not be that great.
Why not?
Nobody wants to go to Camden. I'm not gonna lie. Like nobody's gonna want to go to the waterfront to watch the Phillies.
I think the waterfront would have been great for the Phillies.
Nobody wanted to go to the River Sharks.
Well, the River Sharks are not the Phillies.
That's true.
Okay, this is these are the Phillies. This isn't like the River Sharks was a terrible stadium. Like there was broken glass everywhere. I'm talking the Phillies. I mean, they're not going to do it because it's Citizens Bank Park, but our biggest hope was that the Sixers would leave and then there'd be more parking spaces for us for Phillies games.
That's true. I don't know. I'd rather.
Just like the Link should be in Jersey.
I like the sports complex thing where they have all the stadiums together. That just like I don't know. That jives with me.
I think it's kind of trashy.
Really?
Yeah.
There was like times where
There's like no parking. There's no space.
like the Phillies are in the playoffs and you can go to an Eagles game and then go to a Sunday playoff game. Like you can just go.
But it's
there was
like,
times where
but the problem is
did
it's
that.
so isolated because it's the sports complex.
Yeah.
Like, for example, New York. Not all the sports are in the same area.
That's true.
It's all spread throughout the city, so everyone can enjoy it.
Come on, there's football stadiums in New Jersey.
Yeah, that's how big it is.
Yeah, that's just
Okay. You could say at least Boston puts their stadiums in the middle of town. DC puts their city in the middle of town. San Francisco puts their stadium in the middle of town. Do you want me to keep going?
No, I understand. I like the fact.
Do you understand my frustration?
I like the fact that it's secluded from the rest of the city. I'm about that.
Why? So 75 gets backed up like you've never seen before. 95 gets backed up like you've never seen before.
Could you imagine?
That's a two-way highway. I got a flight getting out of town, and all these people are parked on the shoulder trying to get into all these Ubers with their yellow hazards on.
Could you imagine what
all the Fishtown kids are driving down?
The Ben Franklin Parkway would look like if it was in the middle of Broad Street? It would be the whole city would be shut down for every game.
That's fine because I don't go that way for work.
Oh gosh.
I take the train in.
Oh no.
Okay, put it in Lower
It's all
Meridian.
about Tony. You're revealing it to everybody. It's all about Tony.
Oh, it's all about everyone. I want it in Fishtown because that's where all the Fishtown Fairweather fans hang out to watch their favorite Phillies games. Say that 23,000 times fast.
What, once a month?
What? Oh, the fans? They
Yeah.
come in once a month? Yeah, they like illegally stream the games for the rest of the season. It's like, how many Reddit threads can we steal the Sixers game off of? That's what the Fairweather Fishtown fans are watching in Philadelphia.
Just die
The
hard.
Philadelphia Fairweather Fishtown friends.
They're so
fans.
They're so diehard, you know.
Ugh. Disgusted. Steven Daniels goes, of course you got a game. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll get you a blue moon, Steven. Get you a blue moon. I know that you love them.
You gotta get him a heater.
What's that? Oh, that's the hot. No,
the
that's
spicy
a cheesesteak.
cheesesteak.
Oh, God.
The
Gosh,
heater.
that sounds terrible. Jim, you put this in the show, Rail Cormier.
Oh yeah. Sorry. So.
Put a downer at the end of the show.
Oh well, then we don't have to bring it up.
We're not.
It's just a
skip.
Okay.
Okay, you give your
just a
cliff notes.
It's just the last pitcher to win a game at the Vet Stadium for the Phillies under the Phillies name, Real Cormier. He recently passed away through a cancer battle. I just wanted to just share the beauty of what he did. He won the last game at the Link, and I just
the Vet.
Oh, sorry, the Vet. Sorry.
I wish they played at the Link.
At the Link, that would have been sick.
They should do it just to see how easy it is to hit home run.
Yeah, at the Vet. I just wanted to pay tribute to him and be thankful for that little positivity that we ended the Vet with, and I'm sorry for the loss.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I didn't know much about him. I don't know. I didn't know. So I'm sure that the major people talked about him, like in Philadelphia sports, like they probably talked about him on 94.1 or something.
He played it. He pitched for the in the MLB for like 13 seasons. He was kind of a journeyman.
Okay.
But 13 seasons, long career. I'm sure he
and dies early.
Yeah, he made out, but he 53. It's kind of sad to go early, but
very unfortunate. Jim, you put in. Let's lift up the mood. You put in 3 funny stories in the write-up, and we're going to use one of them to close out the show. These are the 3 descriptions Jim put in the write-up. Man hits lottery using same numbers for 15 years. Doctor performing surgery while attending Zoom court. Or, excuse me, I'm going to burp. Byron Buxton cracks tooth on a steak. Jim, which one do you think I should read? Now note to the fans. I have not read any of these. I've only seen the titles. And Jim will now pick the funniest one, which I will read for the first time live on Tony's Takes and give my take. Jim?
I think doctor performing surgery while attending Zoom court. I think that's the best one. The other ones, you kind of get the gist by just the title.
Which one made you belly laugh? This one?
The middle one. Yeah.
Okay, hopefully nothing plays, because I hate when that happens. Like,
oh yeah,
when you come on Tony's Takes and all of a sudden this thing plays. Okay, this doesn't look too long either. Okay. This is from CBS News. Doctor appears in court video call while performing surgery. I'm in an operation room right now. Okay. Oh my. There's the photo of him in the operational room. The Medical Board of California said it would be investigating a plastic surgeon who appeared in a video conference for his traffic violation trial while operating. Dr. Scott Green appeared Thursday for Sacramento's Superior Court trial, held virtually because of the coronavirus pandemic, from an operating room the Sacramento Bee reported. The state medical board said in a statement to CBS Sacramento that it would look into the incident and that it, quote, expects physicians to follow the standard of care when treating their patients. Green was dressed in surgical scrubs with a patient undergoing the procedure just out of view. The beeps of medical machinery can be heard in the background. Quote, "Hello, Mr. Green? Hi, are you available for trial?" asked the courtroom clerk as an officer summoned to appear in trial raised her eyebrows. "It kind of looks like you're in an operating room right now." "I am, sir," Green replied. "Yes, I'm in an operating room right now. Yes, I'm available for trial. Go right ahead." The clerk reminded Green that proceedings were being live streamed before traffic trials are required by law to be open to the public. And Green said he understood. He appeared to continue working with his head down while waiting for the court commissioner, Gary Link, to enter the chamber. When Link appeared and saw the doctor on the screen, the judge hesitated to proceed with the trial out of concern for the welfare of the patient. Quote, I have another surgeon right here who's doing the surgery with me, so I can stand here and allow them to do the surgery also, Green said. The judge said he didn't think it was appropriate to conduct trial under these circumstances. He told Green he'd rather set a new date for trial, quote, when you're not actively involved or participating and attending to the needs of a patient. Green apologized. Sometimes surgery doesn't always go your way, he said before the judge interrupted him. It happens. We want to keep people healthy. We want to keep them alive. That's important, Link said. A call seeking comment from Green has not been returned. What surgery do you think they were doing?
Plastic surgery, so...
I'm going to go with nose job.
Tommy tuck. That's what I'm going with.
It can't be that serious that you... Yeah, hey, you, come over here and can you pick up where I left off? That's pretty bad.
Come on, that's hysterical when when they set the scene with the blinking the beeps.
The beeping medical equipment.
Can you imagine being that judge just like, what is going on here?
It's like the clerk was like, well, this is a strange situation, and before even warning the judge, the judge just picked up on it immediately.
I don't know how you have
the judge is literally watching him commit a crime.
Yeah,
like there's HIPAA violation.
You can't be doing. I mean, I guess because the patient's not in the line of sight with the video.
Still,
camera.
the risk alone is insane.
Absurd. I mean, that's trying to multitask on just an absurd level.
Unbelievable. Jim, I have good news. I'm going to change the subject as we wrap up the show. The tree out back.
No way.
The light is off.
Wow.
The light was put on in November. We've been tracking it. And last week, the lights came off. Rockefeller style.
I was not expecting this. I am amazed
Shocked,
right now.
Belittled,
Shocked.
Worried, concerned.
Flabbergasted.
It's done. It's done because I called the police on them. How about that?
No.
Justice served.
No.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
No way. You're not caring
but,
enough.
the thing is, I just feel good now. I feel like all in the world is at balance and life is good. And on that note, I think it's time to end Tony's Takes. Thank you to everyone for tuning into Tony's Takes. Thank you to Riley Frayne, the sports editor of the Hawk newspaper, for calling into Tony's Takes and giving us an excellent snippet on St. Joe's basketball. Always do appreciate it. Jim, I really appreciate that you came in today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tony. It was a good show.
It was excellent talking Hawks, talking Sixers basketball. Everyone, make sure to go out and watch the Sixers tonight. It's going to be a interesting one, I guess, to say the least. We got Phillies baseball coming in. Tony's, NFL football ended, but the sports doesn't stop. We got college basketball. We got March Madness. Jim and I will be filling out brackets on next week's episode.
Ooh, I didn't expect that either.
Oh, you did not? Well, the games start on Thursday, so we might have to do a special episode where you call in on Tuesday to do a bracket reveal.
Oh my gosh, let's do it. Are we getting Joe Lenardi on the show?
We've had him on the show. I don't think I'm going to be able to get him for this show. But yeah, that's just some of the exciting things that are coming down the pike for Tony's Takes. So please make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on YouTube, subscribe. Double click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. Of course, follow us on Twitter at Tonys_takes. Once again, that's at Tonys_takes. And finally, email the mailbag. All takes that get mailed to the mailbag questions get right on the show. Tony'sTakes.1851@gmail.com. That's Tony'sTakes.1851@gmail.com. I guarantee that all takes mailed to the mailbag get right on the show. In addition, as I said, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, this is the rerun version. If you haven't done this, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you write the review, it gets read on the show. Well, that does it for this week's episode of Tony's Takes, and we look forward to seeing everyone next week, 7 o'clock, right here on YouTube. You've been listening to Tony's Takes.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.